Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our sixth installment of our podcast. On this episode, we'll be discussing the celebration of Juneteenth, the full week celebration of Juneteenth in the Lehigh Valley. And we would love to welcome, and we're very happy to welcome, the founder of the organization behind it, Dr. Karen Britt.
Yes. Well, thank you all for having me here. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a native of the area. Okay. Born and bred. My parents were born in Easton. I kind of grew up like the big fat Greek wedding.
Okay.
With a lot of aunts, uncles, and cousins. And so, I'm a native of the area. And it's really interesting. Myself, I did not grow up celebrating Juneteenth. My parents didn't celebrate it, probably didn't really know about it. So it wasn't something that we knew of. But as time went on, and I kind of heard inklings about it, and I thought, you know what, this is something that really needs to be brought to the forefront for the culture. At the time, I had finished my doctoral studies and program, and that's years in the making. And I said, at the end of this, I want to do something for the community. And at the time, we were going through George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and I said, we need a time where we can exhale and celebrate the earth suit that God put us in, and be able to look at us and celebrate who we are. And tell our narrative, tell our story, authentic American history, as I always refer to it as. And so I thought about Juneteenth, and this story being, or this holiday being, needed to being celebrated, but also for the story never to be lost. The atrocities of slavery, yes, but to look at it from a perspective of not only surviving that, but the fortitude of a people who did survive it, and in the midst of that, still contributed to the fabric of this nation, and still are. Yes. We don't end our story at slavery. That is a part of our story, but that's not all of our story. And so we need to look at the accomplishments and, as I said, the contributions that we have made to the fabric of this nation. And so in doing this, Juneteenth was just the platform that I thought, this is what we need to do. Truth be told, I thought of just having a barbecue. And, everybody bring their grill. Let's go to a park and have a Juneteenth celebration. But as I was working with some folks and putting together a steering committee, two of the members went out and had a conversation with some folks at Arts Quest, and they gravitated to the concept. And I was like, okay, I have zero budget. How is this going to happen? But divine providence, and we got everything that we needed. So we started actually working on this before it was declared a federal holiday, because this was work done in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic, when we were still sequestered before vaccines. And so to do a festival of this caliber, it takes a year to plan. So I started working in 2020 and gathering some folks that would come alongside to work with me in this venture. So by the time that President Biden signed it into law as a federal holiday, we had everything in place. And so therefore it rolls out. So it wasn't like he signed it and then we started to organize. We were organized before then.
I was going to ask you why 2021, but I guess that really explains so like in taking a year to organize something like this, what are some of the difficulties that come along with?
Okay, so kind of the roses and the thorns. Obviously, we are 501c3. We're a nonprofit, so that means we are grant based. So the development part is a challenge. But we are in a day and age where DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is on the mindset of corporate America. So to take a position of social responsibility from a corporate perspective, granting monies and funding into these type of community events is something that they do. And so, starting with funding and doing the development, I think, is the challenge part. And that's, a constant. And, always forward thinking about what does, the next year look like, what it's going to cost, those types of things. But in the midst of that, I had the opportunity to meet with some very, very interesting people. Juneteenth Lehigh Valley has received a state grant from the Pennsylvania Tourism Office. It's vetted through Voices Underground, which is another nonprofit. But what it does is it brings together other Juneteenth organizations around the state. So we have a consortium of other organizations from Juneteenth Pittsburgh to Juneteenth Harrisburg to Juneteenth Philly, Johnstown, State College, Mount Pocono, that we actually get together and talk about what Juneteenth looks in your area. The concept from a state viewpoint is they really want to set up the state of Pennsylvania as a best practice on how to do Juneteenth, capitalizing on Betsy Ross's house, Constitutional Hall, and Juneteenth.
Right.
And for instance, like Philadelphia, Juneteenth Philly, they'll do their Juneteenth celebration, but then they'll have different small events that will continue after Juneteenth. And their concept is to join Juneteenth with the 4th of July, because there's 2 weeks in between. So there's 2 days of liberation, 2 days of celebration, but having events in between those to bridge those 2 days, significant days
into one
of celebration.
Oh, that's amazing. I actually didn't know that about the celebration. Okay, so how was it the first year that you did it, 2021? Was it a 3-city-wide event, or was it just like one?
Well, our location was at Arts Quest.
Okay.
And because, again, it was the first year, and for the fact that, we're launching out. But I have committee members that are from all 3 cities.
Okay.
And that was important to me. That kind of goes back to my roots and my upbringing. My mother was a part of an organization. It was a kind of a youth development organization that actually was female-based, of women from Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, and Phillipsburg, New Jersey, that developed a coming-of-age program, a debutante program. But as a little girl, I saw these women come together and work for the youth of the Lehigh Valley. And that concept stuck with me. And I knew that the more skills, abilities, and aptitudes that you had at the table, that it wasn't limited or siloed to one specific city, the more of an impact that you would have.
Okay. And with having such an array of things going on, how are you able to make sure that it all runs so smoothly?
Well, what we have and how we're structured is we have coordinators for each city.
Okay.
And, as a steering committee, we talk, we brainstorm, we talk about events, what's going to move forward. And then coordinators will then do kind of the yeoman's work of getting things organized around certain events in certain cities. And then myself, in being in contact with the governmental offices, the mayor's offices, so that they, are in the loop to what we're doing and, how all that is coming about.
Okay. Is the mayor going to be a part of?
The parade event, which is going to be the actually first Juneteenth parade that has agencies from all 3 cities. We have about 28 agencies marching in the parade, including drumline and steppers from Philly, and it's just an array of people. All three mayors will be there. And from the beginning, from 2021, I've had great support from all three mayors of Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton that have been at opening ceremonies at Arts Quest. I've had support from Lehigh and Northampton County executives, state representatives, Congressman woman Susan Wild was there last year. All of those things, has a statement to say in regards to the public sector being in support of Juneteenth.
Okay. And so is this year the biggest Juneteenth event out of the 3 years?
Well, I could say it's the biggest.
It's the biggest? Okay.
Well, what we did for the first 2 years is we had a lot of moving parts all at Arts Quest and PBS, which is another big sponsor, LehighValleyNews.com, another very big sponsor of Juneteenth Lehigh Valley. So the first 2 years, we had a historical menu tasting. Which was at PBS. Well, again, this was during COVID, so we had people register online before the event. Okay. It was sold out before we even got there. We had an artist in residence at PBS. We had a Juneteenth film at the cinema at Arts Quest, because it's still a learning process where, people from our community, really, some of us don't understand Juneteenth, as well as people outside of our community. As I said, I didn't grow up.
I don't want to interrupt you, but could you touch on that? Like, for anybody watching that doesn't necessarily know.
Sure.
What Juneteenth is like. Can we kind of explain to them what what it is, what it means to our community,
right,
and everything like that.
Right. So emancipation, January 1st, 1863, right? Ended slavery in the southern states. However, so slavery is still kind of going on in other parts. Please note that. But what happened in the state of Texas is that they were not informed, or they were informed, but they were still in bondage. So June 19th, 1865, the federal government sends a military group led by Major Gordon Granger to go to Galveston, Texas, to read Executive Order Number 3, to let the enslaved Africans there, because they're not Americans, they're still enslaved Africans, that slavery is ended and they are free. And that happened on June 19th, a la Juneteenth. And so we commemorate the announcement that all enslaved Africans were freed on June 19th, and we celebrate that day as a day of liberation. As I said, long before President Biden signed it into law, you had pockets around the country of our community celebrating Juneteenth, but it didn't have the national, call to action until the federal holiday was in place. But Philadelphia just had their flag raising for Juneteenth this last week, and they honored grandmother Opal Lee, who was the pioneer, trailblazer, worked tirelessly to get Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And now it is. And so they honored her there. But now that the veil has kind of been lifted, now we're kind of coming into the know of what Juneteenth is. And it's okay if you didn't know. Like myself, not everybody knew, and we didn't celebrate it. I was eating a hot dog on 4th of July, like red, white, and blue. But I always say, one of my sayings is, if I can eat a hot dog with you, even though I don't eat meat anymore, on 4th of July, when my people were yet enslaved, you can eat a slice of red velvet cake with me on Juneteenth.
I like that.
Right?
I like that, I do like that.
So I have a question. What does Juneteenth mean to you personally?
It's a day. Our pillars are that we elevate, we celebrate, and we educate. It's a day to celebrate liberation, Is the world perfect? No, by no means. We still have challenges. But in the midst of the challenges, we do need to have a time we can celebrate what we are and what we've contributed. Okay. And in that, you get a sense of pride to understand that I've contributed and I belong. And for me, that's what Juneteenth is. And when you look at us as a community, what we bring to the table and still are bringing to the table, it is just unreal. I have to use it as an example. Like, how many of you saw the movie Hidden Figures?
Actually, I have not.
You have not seen? Okay, that's a go-to that you got to see.
Okay, I'll put that on the list.
So, Hidden Figures, true story, focuses on the mathematical genius of specifically 3 African American women and their contribution to NASA.
Oh,
right?
Actually, I saw a part of that. I did. Yeah, okay,
right?
okay.
Taraji
I know what movie you're
right?
talking about.
So, here's the interview that Taraji gave when she got the screenplay. Number 1 question: why don't we know this story about these black women who were mathematical geniuses and what they did in regards to the space race and the space program? Why isn't this story noted? Hidden Figures. And number 2, her comment was, I would have done this movie for free. Why? Because we need to know these stories. Again, our contributions not unveiled. And that's what I think Juneteenth gives us a platform to do, which is why we had so many moving parts. We had food, we had film, we have music, we have dress, we have fashion, we have, authors, we have art, we have fine art. All of those things are what our community brings. And that needs to be showcased and highlighted, again, to show the rest of the world that we're here and we've contributed and we play a part in what society has today.
I like that. And talking about contributions, can we go into your contributions, any achievements that you've had? We would like to highlight you. So,
okay.
Like what in your career, yes, so far, what?
Well, my day job, day and night job. I am a professor of business and economics.
Okay.
As I said, I'm a native of Easton, graduated from Easton High School, and did my undergrad and master's degree, Smeal College of Business, Penn State.
Okay.
And as a professor, I did my doctorate degree at Drexel, and as a professor, I do research and try to do more research as I teach, but it's given me a platform to expand. So from an economic standpoint, Black economics, one of the assignments that I give my students is they have to watch a documentary on Black Wall Street.
Okay.
Right?
I just listened to a documentary about it. Actually.
All right, great. And some of my students of color have an inkling, like they might have heard of it. But my white students, the response is, why have I never heard of this before? And, Black Wall Street was like kind of the pinnacle. And I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for quite a few years. And I was there before the museum kind of thing was built. But I really, even then, I'm an adult grown woman at that time, I didn't know much about it. So I'm down there and I see the plaque, the museum is being built, but you can't really get the vastness of what it was, because after the massacre, what the city of Tulsa did is they built a highway right through Greenwood. So you can't even imagine how huge it was. The hospitals, the stores, the banks, all of that. But that was, as I said, that was kind of like the pinnacle and, being named Black Wall Street. But there were so many other Black economies that people need to know of. So when you go to Central Park, know that used to be called Seneca Village. And it was a Black economic hub of businesses, which was torn down to create Central Park. And that was just one. Allensworth, California, another. So it's those kinds of things that are kind of covered over that need to be, unveiled so that we see that we are creative people and we're able to contribute, but also that it is a celebration for everyone. At the end of last year's celebration, I got an email from a gentleman who lives out in Macungie area, white gentleman. And he said, you know what, I just wanted you to know, I don't know what you want to do with this, but I just wanted you to know, my great-grandfather was a part of the regiment that rode in with Major Granger on June 19th, 1865, to make the announcement of Executive Order Number 3. And this is his lineage. This is his heritage. And I said, okay, this narrative is going to be a part of the celebration. So this is an older white gentleman who is going to be speaking at our flag raising ceremonies and our parade, because I need others to see who are outside of the community that this is an authentic American history. And this gentleman has a direct connection to Juneteenth.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And before we get into the events,
okay,
what anybody listening or watching that wants to help in any way, what can they do to help?
Sure. They can go to our website, JuneteenthLV.org, and there's a link to volunteer. Our volunteer coordinators working tirelessly, putting things together for the volunteers. There is a meeting we use volunteers at Arts Quest, and then we'll be using volunteers at the parade.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so can we run down the event list and so we kick off on Sunday, June 11th, flag raising ceremonies, and as I said, the gentleman I spoke about, he will be a part of that. I know Allentown is having one at 1:00 at City Hall, and then Juneteenth Lehigh Valley, we're hosting the flag raising celebration 3:00 in Bethlehem at City Hall Plaza, and then at 5:00 in Easton in the Circle downtown. You'll be at both?
Yeah. And then that is followed by a gospel concert downtown Easton, right after the flag raising ceremony. And then Tuesday, we've partnered with the Bayou Restaurant in Bethlehem and Easton. So Mo, the owner there, he is doing a Juneteenth dining experience.
What that consists of?
That's all him in his chef. So you can go on to the Bayou, make reservations for that, and reserve your seating. We will have a jazz band at the Bethlehem location that night. And then Wednesday, we are partnering with the West Ward Community Initiative in Easton. They have a farmers market it's not downtown Easton, but it's 12th and Northampton Street, where they have a farmers market. We'll be having a Juneteenth booth. A magician will be there for children that we have. The children will be decorating red velvet, cupcakes, and all that kind of fun stuff. And then that evening or later that afternoon, Cops and Kids will be reading books about Juneteenth to children at the Bethlehem location at the Fowler Center of Northampton Community College on the south side of Bethlehem, as well as Easton and at the Paxenosa School. And then that evening, we will be at the Bethlehem Public Library. So we are featuring a Black Authors Literacy Program. Elijah Pringle III is our featured published author. We will have the spoken word. We will have things for children in regards to literacy, things surrounding around Juneteenth. We've also commissioned a coloring book for children ages 3 and above that we'll have available for children. And that's that Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to host a Black Hair, Beauty, and Fashion Expo. And that's going to be at the Seagulls Museum in Easton. That's Thursday. Friday the 16th, we are throwing out the first pitch at the Iron Pigs.
And who will be throwing out the first?
Mr. Alfredine Jones who is a retired educator in the Easton School District, teacher, and retired as the head principal of Easton High School.
I see he was the first. Was he the first black
principal? Yes.
At the Easton?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Alfredine Jones. And baseball is his first love. And so I thought that was appropriate for him to throw out the first pitch. And then our 2 signature events. Saturday, June 17th, will be at Arts Quest in Bethlehem, and that's our music festival and children's festival. We have a variety of bands and genres of music. We have R&B, we have soul, we have jazz, we have reggae. We're doing a 50-year tribute to 50 years of hip-hop.
Okay.
So we have dancers and hip-hop artists as well. And, of course, our food trucks and our product and information vendors, a host of those. And then at the PBS WLVT stage, we have dancers, we have face painting, we have step teams, we have a magician for the children. Lehigh Valley Reads is also participating as well, and they give out free books as well. So that's our children's area and concessions and things for them. And then Monday, June 19th, will be the very first Juneteenth parade. That's going to be in Easton, and that's at 12 o'clock. And we have agencies from all 3 cities marching in the parade.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's great. I had the list, and you just went off.
Yeah. So it's a litany. It's a litany of activity. So we've taken what we did at Arts Quest and kind of spread it out through the 3 cities.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know it was before this, and I did the research. I didn't know it was quite this big. I knew about the Art Quest,
right?
But I didn't know it was this large of an event. And with people having busy schedules and everything like that, what would be the one event or 2 that you would highly recommend? That is like if you're going to be at any of them, please make sure you're at this one.
Wow, and that's kind of hard because I want everybody to come to the Bayou. I want them to come and eat, and I definitely want them to come to the Black Beauty and Hair and Fashion Expo because that's going to be wonderful. Dealing with natural hair, it's just going to be wonderful. I guess the 2 signature events would be Arts Quest, come out to the Music Fest and enjoy some fantastic music and food.
Okay.
And then also then the parade.
Okay. And also then what would be your favorite?
I can't choose because this
I had a feeling you would.
This is a year in the making, and I'm just really, as I said, just so pleased how things have come together. And this is just our 3rd year, and our footprint is getting larger, and it's, as I said, I can't choose because it's just so much, and we're going to do even more next year.
That was going to be my next question. So, with this growing year by year, what's the next? What's next?
Well, next year we are already in talks with the Iron Pigs. Quite a few years ago, Iron Pigs put out their schedule, and they have these heritage days where they celebrate specific ethnic groups. There was an Irish day. There was a German day. There was an Italian day. There was a Spanish day. But I didn't see a African American or Black community day. And my first thoughts go to the National Negro Baseball League and our contributions to the sport of baseball, like Satchel Paige and the Monarchs, and because we had our own league in the 30s and 40s, before Jackie Robinson broke the Carlo Barrio and joining the Brooklyn Dollar Dodgers. And, that being said, we had our own because we had to. So in talking with the Director of Community Relations, we are going to have a Black Heritage Day during Juneteenth next year, which will include a parade within the park. All the Black-owned agencies, nonprofits that want to vend there to get come out and do that. We'll name the team for the day. And they are so welcoming and wanting to get our community at Coca-Cola Park. Iron Pigs is a fun day, and to celebrate specifically the National Negro Baseball League and our contributions to baseball.
I like that.
So that's definitely on the docket for 2024. Other things that we have planned for 2024, a major keynote speaker to come to the Valley. Not that we're there yet, but we're going. I mean, former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle is not off our list.
Right,
they're attainable.
Yes.
Go big or go home.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's how I think. And so, but having a noted speaker to come, and then also a noted recording artist. For our concerts.
They come here for Music Fest, so why wouldn't they come here for that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I had a meeting with the CEO of Music Fest, just in getting more involved in the Black community, and looking at Juneteenth Lehigh Valley, because we have had, a rate of success that, this is a venue that they as an organization can tap into to the Black community, and having them more involved in Arts Quest. And so, definitely we're open.
Oh, that's amazing. I like that. So what is the driving force behind this? Like, what's pushing you and what's keeping you going, to make this organization or this celebration as big as it's become in these just last 3 years?
I guess, I run on, as a Christian woman, I run on 3 pillars as faith, follow through, and fortitude. And I look at this, I guess this is a cliche that's a labor of love. But it is giving authentic American narratives to our own people and our environment, and seeing where the Lehigh Valley has an opportunity to grow. Mm-hmm. This is not the Lehigh Valley of the 60s and 70s and 80s. It has changed. We have new people in the valley that have a host of ideas and that are creative and bring so much to the table. And I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing new people come into the valley and being engaged. So my driving force is that it's necessary, and it's a way that our community can be elevated in the midst of struggle, in the midst of challenges, because you need that reinforcement in the community. You need that to have a sense of belonging. And so that's, I think, my driving force.
So on this several-year journey of blowing this celebration up, what's been the most satisfying thing for you?
I guess it's been the response of people, of the community, and coming out. As I said, when I thought about this, we were in the midst of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and my heart is breaking, and it's feeling the pain of the community, and understanding that we needed to exhale. And as I said, we needed to celebrate who we are, how we live, how we move, how we dance, how we eat, how we dress, how we celebrate how our hair grows out of our head, without legislation like the Crown Act, and, that we have to have legislation so that we're not discriminated against about the way our hair grows out of our head. Right?
I know that person.
Right. So, but to celebrate us, and then again, that driving force that you still, are able to contribute and create even more. And then also giving platform to Black-owned businesses. And that is one of the major changes in the Valley over the years, is that we have so many more Black-owned businesses. And the need for us to network and connect, and to have that type of platform where they can be showcased.
That's true. I like that. That's what we we try to achieve with this, especially with this. Have you heard? Is
Sure.
Trying to connectivity is everything, especially in our community. But when it comes to the organization, the nonprofit, what other things throughout the year, do you guys do?
So, well, what we're doing is, I said, a keynote speaker, a noted speaker. That is something that we'll be doing outside of the Juneteenth week.
Okay.
So that will be more kind of a gala fundraiser thing that we're looking at doing outside of the Juneteenth week in preparation of Juneteenth. Other areas that we could consider as, and I've done this with other corporations, is just to go in and talk to groups about Juneteenth, because it is still an education process and going up the trajectory of learning and a part of the DEI experience within. And I've done that with other corporations, and just talking about it is a part of kind of moving the needle forward.
Yeah. Would that involve like the schools, like the local schools? Whitehall vets, Eastern vets. So does that involve the schools? 'Cause I believe that.
I think down the line, and this kind of goes to something I heard on the news, KYW, is that the American Jewish Federation came alongside of the Philadelphia School District to have an in-service day, when the teachers are in, but the students aren't, to teach the teachers about the Holocaust, because they felt that the Holocaust was not being taught and it was being lost. Same thing. Not that you point the finger and say, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Let's come alongside. And just as I said with my students, one of the assignments I give them is to, investigate Black Wall Street, look at the contributing factors, look at what was, right? Is that let's come alongside the school district, not point figures and say, oh, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. But let's come alongside, look at curriculum and where authentic American history can be woven in. And so that the economics, the experience, the Black experience can be taught in our school system. So just like the Holocaust will never be forgotten, that our story and our narrative will not be forgotten. Now, I say that understanding that when you look at the Holocaust did not happen on U.S. shores. So the sting is not as great. It's horrific, right? But when you think of slavery, that happened here. Yeah. So the sting of it is a bigger area to embrace, that this really is our truth. And this is how we treated, a group of people. And so I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, as I said before, you don't end our narrative there. Exactly. We don't want our children with their head hung low to say, okay, people that look like you owned people like me, and this is all that I was good for. But our complete narrative has to be told so that they can see, in spite of, this is what we've done, and this is what we are doing.
Okay. Nice.
So I feel like you touched on this earlier, but do you feel like this celebration has been bringing all different races together?
It will. I think it's getting there. Just like the gentleman, as I said, that will be speaking, who has a direct connection. His family has a direct connection to Juneteenth. Other areas or other communities I thought of that need to be a part of this narrative are those that were a part of the Underground Railroad, and that's the Quakers. Yeah. Let's bring them into this celebration because they have a part in it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? They have a part in it. And, other groups, abolitionists, that need to be a part of that and bringing that in. I got an email from one gentleman who is bringing a group of people to the dining experience at the Bayou, and he's Asian. And he said, Asian Americans support Juneteenth. I'm like, yay, right? Yeah. And that's good because that's what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. That's true. They have a narrative, as it relates to how they were treated here, and during World War II, and the encampment camps, and building the railroad out west, and all those kinds of things, as well as cowboys, and where that term came from our community. So they all have a narrative as well. And if you can embrace my narrative and I embrace yours, I always think of looking at our country, and even though it has been coined that we are a melting pot, we shouldn't be. That is not a good narrative. That's not a good analogy, because when you melt, that means you assimilate and you become this one gray goo, right? But rather than that, be a stew where you can be your individual self and maintain and contain your own properties, but you taste better when you're all together.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So not a melting pot, but be a stew. Be you. Mm-hmm. But we are so much better and so much stronger together, and celebrating and not just tolerating one another, but celebrate who we are.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I wish I when it comes to the event and the celebration, why the Lehigh Valley? What is it about the Lehigh Valley? Other than you growing up here, what is it about Lehigh Valley that makes you? It's like, this we have to do it here, and this is the time now.
Well, as I said, I'm from here, and growing up, I saw what the Valley was able to do. So this coming of age program that my mother and women, I call them the Diane Carrolls, if you remember who Diane Carroll was, the Diane Carrolls of the Lehigh Valley. I saw the power of what they were able to create. And this was, you kind of went to the NAACP Freedom Fund banquet of your city, but the debutante ball was one of the biggest social events of the black community in this valley. So it was, top of the line, black excellence, before we even coined the term black excellence. Yeah. And so I knew and understood the potential of the valley. Okay. And I understood when we are synergized together, the power that we have as a valley. And then also when it came to funding and development, I don't think I would have had as much success if I said, well, this is Juneteenth Bethlehem, or this is just Juneteenth Easton. But because it's valley, and, from a corporate standpoint, they understand, we have things valley-wide. We have a greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, right? Yes. And when that commerce, because they used to be siloed, Easton, Bethlehem, and Allentown. But when they came together as the greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, how much stronger they are. And that's the same concept.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, you go do another one.
All right. So, actually, I believe we ran through everything. Unless there's anything that you want to cover.
No, I think I gave the litany of events and kind of the history and background and kind of the energy behind what I do.
Okay. All right. That means that do you have any questions for us before we
Well,
wrap this?
This is like totally cool. Brunch Boys, the official Brunch Boys. This is great. So this gives me like Breakfast Club vibes. So
Maybe one day we're trying to get on there.
Okay.
Same way you're trying to bring Obama here, we're trying to get over there.
Okay, but this is and this is very encouraging. To see you, your generational cohort, doing these things and branching out. No fear, like go and do it. Because there is so much that we can do and we can embrace.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Oh, and how can people reach you if they want to? I guess if they have a story, somebody listening, maybe their grandfather or anybody.
Oh, yeah.
How can people reach you?
Yeah, they can email us at JuneteenthLV@gmail.com.
Okay.
And that's our email address, just like the gentleman did after last year's celebration to tell me his family story and connection to Juneteenth. But yeah, they can reach out to us. And
website is
JuneteenthLV.org.
Okay. All right. So, and everybody listening, anybody watching, please go out, either volunteer or go to one of the events.
Go to one of the events.
Or all of them, actually.
So if they share their story with you, like, where would that be highlighted at? Like, what event would that be highlighted at?
I would just kind of have to hear it and vet it to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
That all makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the things that I guess in the parade, which again this is the first year, what we are doing is we are honoring one family from each city.
Oh,
Okay.
That will be riding in a convertible, right?
Nice.
Oh.
And so Juneteenth Lehigh Valley Easton Family Honors, and then there's someone from that family that's been nominated. Bethlehem Family Honors. Allentown Family Honors.
Those families families have been here for generations.
They're more historic. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the families, for the most part, have been nominated by the NAACP branch from Easton, Allentown, and then we also have a family from Bethlehem, and we wanted to pay homage to those families that have been here for decades and have sown seeds of empowerment to the Lehigh Valley.
Okay, all right, I like that. Sounds
Yes.
amazing. We're gonna try and make a few of the work schedule is a little funny, so definitely gonna try and make a few of those events. But we're happy to bring it to the people that listen to us.
Sure.
We're happy to bring it to the Valley. So thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you. And I hope you had a good time with us.
Yes, I did.
Hopefully we can sit down again and do this next year or
sounds good.
whenever there's an event that you guys are throwing. We'll be happy to sit down. And
Wonderful.
of course.
Wonderful.
So anytime you could reach out to us and we'll do this all over again.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Dr. Britt.
All right.
And for everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As usual, this is our 6th installment, so hopefully you enjoyed it and hopefully you learned something. If you didn't know about Juneteenth already, hopefully you got some information. If you want more information, there's always documentaries and everything you could go watch. So with that being said, I guess we're going to, end it here. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate